Jonathan Becker, August 21st, 2025. Alright, today I'm talking about hemolytic anemia for my Diseases of the Cell project by Ethan Becker. So here we have a normal red blood cell without hemolytic anemia, and then we have the spherocyte, and then this is hemolysis, which is where the blood cell destroys itself and it ends up bursting, which is what happens in hemolytic anemia. So the introduction. Hemolytic anemia is caused by the early and premature destruction of red blood cells, and in some forms the underlying cause stems from enzyme deficiencies that impair essential metabolic pathways. There are three main types of hemolytic anemia. We have glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, or G6PD, which disrupts the pentose phosphate pathway, impairing the production of NADPH needed to protect red blood cells from oxidative damage. Pyruvate kinase deficiency, or PKD, disrupts glycolysis, reducing ATP production in red blood cells and leading to impaired ion transport and cell membrane instability. And then in autoimmune hemolytic anemia, which is AIHA, the problem is not enzymatic, but due to antibodies attacking their own red blood cells and the membranes, leading to their destruction. Hemolytic anemia is a chronic disease and is lifelong because as of now there is no cure. So the functions of the cell that are impacted. Energy production. Without glycolysis occurring enough, red blood cells can't generate sufficient ATP, which impairs the sodium-potassium pump and leads to cell fragility. Antioxidant defense. In G6PD deficiency, the lack of NADPH production reduces the ability of red blood cells to neutralize oxidative stress, resulting in cell lysis. Membrane stability. Enzyme deficiencies weaken the membranes of red blood cells, which then lead to be more prone to ruptures and cell lysis. And then oxygen transportation. The early destruction of red blood cells reduces hemoglobin levels, limiting oxygen delivery to tissues, which, as we know, we need oxygen for our tissues to live, so that could cause big problems. The cells and tissues affected. So here, we have four main things that are affected: the spleen, the liver, the cardiovascular system, and the bones. So for the spleen, it becomes overactive because it is constantly trying to remove fragile or abnormal red blood cells, and over time this can lead to an enlarged spleen called splenomegaly. The liver processes the excess hemoglobin released from destroyed red blood cells. This can cause jaundice and elevated bilirubin levels, which sometimes makes the skin and eyes appear yellow. The cardiovascular system. Because hemolytic anemia reduces oxygen transport in the blood, the heart must work harder to deliver oxygen to the body. This increased workload can lead to rapid heartbeat, which is called tachycardia, and in severe cases, heart failure. And then lastly, the bones. The bone marrow tries to compensate for early red blood cell destruction by producing more cells. This can cause expanded bone marrow cavities and sometimes bone pain. So the enzymes and the metabolic pathways. In G6PD deficiency, red blood cells lack enough glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase to handle oxidative stress. This makes the red blood cells fragile and prone to breaking down early, leading to hemolytic anemia. In the pyruvate kinase deficiency, a mutation in the PKLR gene reduces the activity of the pyruvate kinase enzyme in glycolysis. Red blood cells rely on this enzyme for energy, so without it they cannot maintain their shape and function, causing them to break down prematurely. So why it matters. Both enzyme deficiencies disrupt the normal life cycle of red blood cells, causing anemia and other systematic effects. The genetics and the inheritance. So for G6PD deficiency, it's inherited in an X-linked recessive pattern, meaning that males are more likely to be affected, while females are usually carriers. And this is because males have only one X chromosome, so the defective gene will cause the disease. PK deficiency. Pyruvate kinase deficiency is inherited in an autosomal recessive pattern. Both males and females are equally affected, but a person must inherit two defective copies of the PKLR gene to have the disease. This means it is recessive and both parents need to be a carrier to pass it on to their kids, and there's still not a 100% chance that carriers will pass it down to their kids. Mutations. Most cases of G6PD or PK deficiency are caused by missense mutations, where a single amino acid change in the enzyme makes it less effective or non-functional. Here's some more genetic and molecular insight. So some genetic causes, mutations in enzymes, like the pyruvate kinase or G6PD, or in red blood cell membrane proteins such as spectrin or ankyrin, disrupt normal red blood cell function, and make cells prone to destruction. Molecular mechanisms. These mutations impair crucial biochemical pathways or weaken the red blood cell membrane, leading to premature hemolysis, which is the destruction of red blood cells. Importance for diagnosis. Identifying specific genetic mutations helps confirm hereditary forms of hemolytic anemia, guide treatment decisions, and provide valuable information for family counseling. The impact at the cellular level. Mutant enzymes or defective membranes reduce red blood cell lifespan, which causes anemia, fatigue, and other systemic effects. So, diagnosis method. To diagnose G6PD deficiency, doctors measure the enzyme activity in red blood cells using an enzyme assay. Genetic testing can also confirm the specific mutation causing the deficiency. In the PK deficiency, diagnosis of PK deficiency also uses an enzyme assay to measure pyruvate kinase activity along with PKLR gene testing to identify the mutations. And these conditions are usually diagnosed by hematologists because routine checkups, like going to your pediatrician or anything like that, they do not detect enzyme deficiencies. Early detection is important to prevent hemolytic crisis and manage symptoms effectively. So, prevention and lifestyle. People with G6PD deficiency should avoid triggers that cause oxidative stress in red blood cells. These triggers include fava beans, certain medications, and severe infections. Avoiding triggers helps prevent episodes of hemolysis. So, in the pyruvate kinase deficiency, prevention focuses on genetic counseling and carrier screening for families at risk. Knowing the carrier status can help plan pregnancies and prepare for potential complications. So, the goal with lifestyle prevention is to modify your lifestyle, which includes careful monitoring and the avoidance of triggers, and reduce the risk of severe anemia and improve quality of life. There are also some supplements you can take, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, patient management and quality of life, the daily impact. Hemolytic anemia often causes chronic fatigue, jaundice, and frequent hospital visits for transfusions or treatments. Regular laboratory tests like blood counts, reticulocyte counts, bilirubin, and LDH are essential to track disease progression and detect hemolytic episodes early. Nutritional support like folic acid supplementation, infection prevention, and psychosocial care improve patient well-being and reduce complications. There are some emerging therapies, including that complement inhibitors, enzyme replacement therapies, and gene therapy, which are all being studied to provide targeted treatment, reduce hemolysis, and improve the quality of life. And then at the cellular impact, effective management minimizes RBC destruction, supports hemoglobin levels, and ensures tissues receive adequate oxygen. So there are some treatment options, but like I said, there is no cure, like full cure that can just get rid of it all. So the supportive care. Both deficiencies often require supportive care, such as blood transfusions to maintain healthy red blood cell levels, folic acid supplements to support red blood cell production, and sometimes a splenectomy to reduce red blood cell destruction. There are some new therapies that are being researched, including mitapivat, which is a newly approved oral drug for PK deficiency that activates pyruvate kinase and improves red blood cell survival. And the gene therapy is also relatively new and is in the experimental stage, and it aims to correct the defective PKLR gene. And then in the G6PD deficiency, there is currently no enzyme replacement, so the management focuses on avoiding triggers and monitoring for that anemia. And then the role of allied health professionals. Dietitians help manage nutrition and avoid triggers for people with that G6PD deficiency, and proper nutrition also supports red blood cell health. Physical therapists assist in managing fatigue and maintaining mobility, which is especially important for people with chronic anemia. Dialysis, while rarely needed, dialysis specialists may become involved if kidney complications arise due to the chronic hemolysis. And then the goal is a multidisciplinary care team to ensure better quality of life and helps prevent complications, especially since no cure has been found yet. So like we talked about with that outlook in the research, mitapivat, which is that oral drug that improves red blood cell survival and hemoglobin levels in people with PK deficiency, which increases energy and reduces the symptoms of anemia. There's also that gene therapy, which could potentially provide a long-term solution for PK deficiency. There's some ongoing research. Scientists are studying new drugs, early detection methods, and genetic counseling strategies to improve outcomes for both G6PD and PK deficiencies. So the hope for the future is that advances in treatment and research offer better management of anemia, fewer complications, and improved daily life, and hopefully one day a cure. Alright, and then the summary of everything. Hemolytic anemia occurs when red blood cells are destroyed prematurely. There are enzyme deficiencies, like G6PD and pyruvate kinase deficiency, which cause the fragile red blood cells and the systemic effects. Diagnosis requires enzyme activity assays and genetic testing. Treatment includes supportive care, new therapies like mitapivat and experimental gene therapy. And it's a multidisciplinary care team that focuses from nutritionists, physical therapies, and other specialists to help improve patient outcomes. And then here are my sources. And that's the end. I hope you guys enjoyed it.